Opinions.
Yes.
Everybody has one.
Yes.
Not everybody should share an opinion like every time they have one.
True.
Statement, fact, question, yes, all the above. I wonder, when is it appropriate to share an opinion, and when do you just feel like you have to, just to unburden your own mind and heart? Because, I mean, if you're on social media, everybody's giving their opinion over everything. I recently joined on a Facebook, local, like it pertains to the town in which we live. And I thought, well, this will be interesting. You get to find out more about what's going on in the community. And what I learned pretty quickly was that a lot of people will put on there, like, hey, I'm stranded on the side of the road. Can somebody come help me? And people would.
That's cool.
I
like that.
Love that. Really thought that was unique, and proud of folks for, going out and giving somebody a jump or a flat tire help. Okay. So then, though, they'll put things like, well, does anybody know why there's a bunch of police cars over at this truck stop? And some will, kind of give you what's going on.
Speculate. Or tell you what they've observed as they drove by.
That's the thing. Like that people, eyewitness account. But then others, and this is where I just get very cloudy as to why people need to chime in, would say something like, you're just a bunch of busybodies. Like, mind your own business. And I'm thinking, should thou take thou own advice?
Exactly. Why are you posting that? Why are you on this page?
Right.
If that is the way you're going to come back
and
respond to things.
Yeah, but every page seems to have that now.
Oh, yeah.
If it's, I'm on another one where it's restaurants in town. I'm telling you. Like, I can't even hardly read any of it. You're trying to get, what did you think about this place? Or, oh, it's a new place. And instead, people, and the rules of the page are, do not be negative.
Sure.
If you're going to be negative, don't say anything. And yet someone feels they have to unburden themselves. I think there's a difference between, like, hey, safety, this place has salmonella or something like that.
Sure.
And, well, blah, 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 blah. And just sharing your opinion because you feel like everybody's entitled to it. And that is kind of the joke, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I think part of what is driving this is the fact that now we have the ability and the platforms to do that. How many people probably have wanted to do that for years, but just have never had the opportunity or the ability to do that? You think of all the previous generations, if they wanted to share their opinion, they had to write a letter to the editor of the newspaper or something like that. And hopefully, they did so well enough that some editor would see that
and think, okay, we can. Their argument is strong enough that we're going to go ahead and publish this. Well, now we've taken the editor out of the equation. People can go straight to the platform, share whatever random messed up thoughts they may have. Sometimes they're decent, but a lot of times they're pretty messed up. And they have the opportunity to get that opinion out there, whether it's well-reasoned, well thought out or not.
I used to laugh at the T-shirt, and this was back in the letter to the editor days, the T-shirt that said, everybody has a right to my opinion. And I'm not even sure, but what I kind of believed that I would want to share what was on my mind. And I feel like through the years, the Lord has said, okay, you can keep that one to yourself. Now we're going to use self-control and be slow to speak, quick to listen, slow to speak, slow to become angry. And so working that part into my mind, now I don't get it right all the time, but still the effort is there to try to discern when it's a good time to share an opinion and when it's time to keep it to myself. And I just wonder, in believers' lives especially, like, are we thinking before we speak, especially on social media? Because the keyboard warrior thing is so real. But I notice it even within the church.
Oh, yeah. Well, I think the big question to ask behind that is why? What is driving that need to share an opinion?
Mm-hmm.
When it is, I'm defending the faith,
Sure.
in truth and love, I got no problem with that. When it is, let's engage in a conversation, and I want to share my opinion, and you can share yours, and we're going to have a civil dialogue. Got no problem with that.
Sure.
When there's multiple parties who are in agreement that that's what we're going to do. But when, like you say, it's the keyboard warrior, when it's the person who feels the need to almost attack in trying to defend their opinion, that does absolutely no good. I don't know how many years have we watched this go on, and how many times has anyone's opinion ever been changed?
And that's just it. Like, I'm thinking as you're sharing that, how true it is, and that people, especially we just came through a political cycle, and I remember seeing somebody say that text, that opinion you just put out there on Facebook did not change my opinion at all.
Not at all.
And usually we're not even kind. Like, you can't read emotion in there, but sometimes you can. And, oh, man, when did we lose the civil discourse? We can't even share opinions. Like you said, like, that's the framework. We know that we're going to sit down and have this discussion. But then we have so many other platforms. And I just wonder, like, when do you find it valuable to share your opinion? And then if you distill it down into a family situation, because then you've got familiar territory. Do you always have, just because it's familiar territory, do you get to share your opinion always?
It depends on, I think, what you want to accomplish. If you want to, create the environment for the argument to happen so that you can leave early and that the family function breaks up, sure, go ahead and share that opinion. Let's talk about politics. Let's talk about religion. Let's talk about so-and-so's bad behavior in the family and whatever. And, the way that, that part of the family is parenting their kids versus that part of the family. And if you would just do... You want to break up the party? Sure. Go ahead and share the opinion.
Yeah.
Do you want to have a time where the family can get along? A time where the family can actually maybe create some good, fun, happy memories? Yeah, there's some opinions that probably need to keep to ourselves.
And just because it's kind of the warm audience because you're so familiar with one another, familiarity also means that we know what buttons to push.
Oh, yeah. Exactly.
And we do that, like, knowing we're about to step on a landmine. And I think of myself, and when I decide to do that, what am I trying to accomplish? And I've been challenged in the last couple of weeks. Like, not only what do I want to accomplish, but what do I not trust the Lord to accomplish? That's really, really sobering to think about. I feel like I have to handle it because, Lord, you're not.
Yeah, and that is a great point, because how many times do we share an opinion because we see somebody maybe making unwise decisions, going against biblical truth and principle and whatever, and we're like, oh, I so want them to know truth. I so want them.
Sure.
And so we open our mouths. We might be able to get away with that once, twice, maybe. But at a certain point, that person knows.
Oh, of course.
Where we stand, what we believe, why, and to continue to try and share that opinion over and over and over again. Now, I'm not saying we stop sharing the gospel or anything like that.
Right.
But when we point out the reasons that we think their behavior is bad, that all those things, and we say it in such a way that it can feel like a personal attack, you've lost that audience.
Yeah.
You've lost that person. They're done listening.
Sure.
The moment that, you're like, the moment the phrase, well, you need to, comes out of our mouth, that conversation may as well be done, over.
Yeah. I've been thinking about that even with, I have 2 of the adult kids at home right now because they're in college.
Yeah.
And so often, if I don't see them for a while, and I'm trying to get caught up on things, I hear myself saying, well, don't forget. And it's just that whole parenting thing, because you never stop being a parent.
Right.
You never stop caring. You never stop wanting the best for them. And then when that's all I hear come out of my mouth, I'm like, oh, okay, I've got to learn how to ask a question as opposed to constantly trying to steer the ship, because they have to do life experience to a degree.
Right. And that is kind of scary to watch that unfold sometimes, isn't it?
Got a front row seat.
You know,
It's very scary sometimes.
you know, because of our life experience, they go down that path, that's going to hurt. And so you try and encourage. Maybe sometimes you share the opinion, but at a certain point, like, okay, apparently this is a lesson you're going to have to learn the hard way. I know I had to learn plenty of lessons the hard way.
Oh, yeah.
So here's a lesson you're going to have to learn the hard way. And when you're ready to do different, we're here.
Sure. So our pastor had a sermon not all that long ago, and he was talking about the lineage of Jesus and the 4 women that are mentioned in Matthew that Jesus came through that line. And these won't be in order, but it's Ruth, Lot's daughters. Do you remember that story?
Oh, talk about family dysfunction and messed up.
Come on. Oh, my goodness. Those two, Bathsheba.
Yeah.
So what did I say? Ruth, Lot's daughters, Bathsheba, and
Rahab.
Thank you, Rahab the prostitute.
Yeah.
So here's the line that Jesus came through. And if you go back and you read those accounts, you would think, especially for me with Ruth, when the guys that were, the husbands were dying and, Tamar.
Okay.
Tamar Tamar was part of that too.
Okay.
She was not in Matthew, but it's part of the story, right? Coming through Judah, the line of Judah. And that's where, like, the guys that were supposed to be taking her as a wife after her husband died were messing up big time. And you would think it's just a human perspective that when those guys behaved the way they did, that it was going to thwart everything. Like, it's not going to happen. Jesus is not coming into this world the way God designed. And also, you would think that it was going to be something really quiet. Like, nobody's ever going to know that this happened. Well, not only does everybody know, it's in the canon of Scripture.
Right.
So we all can learn from that. And what I took away from that sermon was you're not going to stop God's plan, and He's the one working. Like, you may think that you're hiding something in an intimate moment, but you're not. God of the universe, who has that plan, He's not going to be stopped. And it brought me such comfort because so many times I think, well, I missed that opportunity, or I should have spoke and I didn't speak. I spoke and I messed things up. Got plenty of those. And yet the Lord is going to do what He's going to do in that person's heart, in my life. And it was one of those grace reminders for me because I live in such a place of, Lord, I want to do this right, and I don't.
Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah. The sovereignty of God is something that I don't think we'll ever be able to wrap our minds around this side of eternity. But when we believe in His sovereignty, and when we know that we know that we know that He is in control of every circumstance and situation, that His plan can't be stopped and thwarted, there is a ton of peace that comes with that. And I think when I remind myself of that, man, there are so many different types of circumstances where that is super helpful.
Yes.
One from just, the what we will sometimes call our personal headlines. The health diagnosis, the loss of a job, the loss of a friend or a family member, these big things. You're like, okay, none of those things caught God by surprise. The big national and international headlines, none of those things caught God by surprise. But then also think about when it comes to the people that we love, that we care about, who don't know Jesus yet, and you look at their life and you look at their track record and you say, you know what? There's no way. That person, I don't see how they are ever going to end up in a relationship with God. There is nothing in their life that would indicate that they would have any sort of receptivity to the gospel,
right,
or to what God may do in their lives. And again, the sovereignty of God is there, and is like, He doesn't need their permission.
Yeah.
He doesn't need them to in a sense, take the first step towards him and then he'll come and close it. No, God can choose to interrupt that person's life anytime, any way he wants to do so, begin to awaken a dead heart and life and begin to breathe spiritual life into that individual. Story after story after story, we hear of God intervening in people's lives in that way. And because of the sovereignty of God and the fact that he is God and can do that, there's even a huge piece when it comes to those people that we love and care about who are like, you know what? Them coming to Christ, I don't see how that could ever happen. You know what? We don't have to.
Sure.
Because if he wants them, he's going to get them.
We have the privilege to share the gospel. We
Right.
have, out of the overflow of the heart, Scripture says, the mouth speaks. So because we love him and we understand what he's done for us, that's why we want to share the gospel.
Yeah.
But you're right. He can come in a dream, and he does that. He can come in a circumstance that we're not part of, and lo and behold, those folks still get saved and come to the knowledge of Christ and that forgiveness relationship that he's offering by his grace and what he's done on the cross and the power of the resurrection. Like, he does all that. We get to tell
Yeah.
because we understand we've been forgiven much. He doesn't need us to tell.
Right.
He just gives us the privilege of telling others about him. And I think when we get it in that perspective, it's easier to tell. This is what Jesus has done for me.
Sure.
Not the burden of, I got to tell you, because if I don't tell you, you're not going to get saved. Like, it's not on us. And if you just want to apply that to the rest of our conversations, that person that we care about and we don't want the lifestyle or whatever, what they need for us to do is to keep coming alongside. Like, when I get anxious over the kids and I've got burdens on my heart and mind, there are times I can speak, and I will when it needs to. But there are times the Lord's asking me to trust him, and we're having lots of conversations, me and the Lord. But it comes down really to an obedience factor between me and the Lord. And it comes down to, Lord, do I trust you? I mean, I see what you've done in my life and all the you should and you better and all that. That never really, I mean, yes, it resonates with me because being the people pleaser that I am, like, it just sits in my brain differently. But I still didn't like it.
Yeah.
And I think when somebody comes to me and says it, even now, I'm like, what are you saying to me right now? Like, you do. You're just, that human nature kind of bows up, and nobody likes to be confronted like that.
Right.
So thank you, Lord, for your kindness. That's not how he confronts me. Every time I sin and mess up, Steve, I never hear the Lord say, and in his word, I never, well, you should have done this or you shouldn't have done that. He never handles me that way. His grace and forgiveness is amazing. And what I find it hard is sometimes accepting that forgiveness.
Yeah.
Because you messed up.
Right. No, I totally get that.
That's hard.
So back to, in a sense, your opening statement and question, does everybody deserve our opinion? I think when it comes to, when we care about people on these issues, the issues that really matter, hopefully we have the opportunity to, in a sense, share an opinion in a way that doesn't look like, well, you should or you need to. But can we share that opinion or that truth in a way that is testimonial? Like, let me tell you what God has been doing in my life.
Oh, yeah.
Let me share with you whatever. And then there might be the opportunity, based on the kind of feedback that we're getting, that door's open. And we can continue to take the next step. Or that person might be closing that door on us, and for us then to try and knock down that door, to shove that door open, is just going to create tension and potentially fracture that relationship even more. And so I think, when we share our opinion, if we can do it from well, this has been my experience, this is how these circumstances have maybe affected me personally, this is what God has shown me, this is what God has taught me, this is what God has brought me through, what he's been revealing, what I've been learning, how he's been stretching me, those types of things. Those are all, in a sense, I statements. They're not you statements, and they're not attacking.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so there's
true.
there's a way even in which I think we can share opinion that is going to get us a lot more receptivity
Mm-hmm.
for people to hear us. If we can do that with a little bit more of an I statement
Sure.
than a you statement, the conversation may go a lot differently.
Wow. That's very, very true. And when we're sharing our opinion, like, what is the purpose? And that's what I've been thinking of as I was going to talk to you about opinions today, because we were talking with a friend the other day, and he was like, what's your opinion on this? Normally I would have one, but because I hadn't heard the conversation he was asking about that was out on YouTube or whatever, I was like, I don't even know. And would I share that publicly? I don't know. And it got me to thinking about opinions and how we communicate with one another and what is the point of sharing our opinion. When we're asked, easy to do,
Sure.
especially if you know what the conversation's about. Usually I can't give an opinion if I don't know. But then I got to thinking about my opinions and when I do share them and what is the purpose? What do I want to come out of that? And just kind of muddling that through my mind over the last few days. And then thinking about social media and everybody's opinion that's out there. But from a believer standpoint, like, what is our objective?
I think that is the big question right there. What is behind that urge or desire to share opinion? Is it to, in a sense, be and the heart behind it? Because the heart behind it, I think, if it is one of, I want people to understand truth.
Mm-hmm.
I want people to understand, what Scripture says, whether we're dropping the Bible verses on them in the middle of that or not, or we're just presenting that biblical principle and truth. If the heart behind that is one of compassion,
Mm-hmm.
is one of, here's how I think about this, and here's why, and I can back up the argument, and we can do so in a way that is winsome and not angry,
Sure.
I think that goes a whole lot further. And then also, as you talk about platform, and people doing this on social media, there are platforms and there are social media pages, there are places that are designed for opinion sharing.
Huh.
There are also
It's not Facebook?
There are also people who try and hijack those platforms. There are
Yeah.
people who try and create that environment on a page or on a platform that is not designed for that. And so I think that's maybe the other part of the equation is, if you are wanting to share opinion, are you going to the place where that's its designed intent and purpose?
Sure.
Or are you trying to hijack a thread, a stream, a page, something, create controversy and argument where that's not what that place is about?
Yeah. That applies both on social media and in our lives.
In life too. Yeah.
Are we trying to hijack, or are we just trying to come alongside and mentor, or even somebody in a public space, like you're at the grocery store? Oftentimes, if you make contact, which I know people don't do it as much anymore, an opinion is shared.
Yeah.
I'm just looking at which pasta to buy, and somebody might share their opinion about, and I always get tickled. I always think that's funny, and I just let folks talk. They don't necessarily need my opinion too, unless they ask. But it is funny in interpersonal relationships. Like,
Oh, yeah.
What are we trying to do? Are we trying to share with somebody out of love and care and respect? Or do I just need to get this off my chest and you get to hear it?
And sometimes those stories, depending on what they're sharing their opinion about, actually can be kind of funny.
They are.
We were at Costco
Yeah.
not that long ago. I wasn't there. Susie and the kids were there. And they were telling me the story of, they were buying something from the Costco food area. And an older gentleman who is riding one of the store scooters with a little flag on the back, Susie had already purchased the item. And he comes rolling up, "Ma'am, miss, chasing her down on the little scooter to tell her that product is a little bit too dry and his wife needed to make gravy to make it palatable." And, we laugh about it now because it was just a reminder
I love that so much.
that not all superheroes wear capes. And that is just a reminder to us, like, he had a strong opinion and felt he needed to share it about the Costco pot pies, which our family loves. And,
With or without gravy?
with or just
I
the way
can't
it comes.
imagine Susie makes gravy.
No, just the way it comes right out of the store and then out of the oven to our table. And it was just a reminder to me, like, there's a guy who needed to share his opinion, and but it was it was like not all superheroes wear capes.
That's right.
He felt the need to do that, and because it was the topic we were able to laugh about it.
That's great.
When it's a serious,
More
a much more
personal,
personal,
sure.
serious topic, then time, place, platform, environment, level of relationship, desired outcome. I think all those things need to be weighed.
Yeah. So if we're thinking about our opinions and sharing them, we just came through the holidays. We may need to go back and apologize for some of those opinions we decided that we needed to tell everybody about. That's huge. It really is huge. I remember Dr. Kathy Cook talking to us not that long ago and saying maybe we need to go to one another and say, listen, the way that went, I'm sorry. The way my opinion got shared, that was probably not the best way. Not probably, but if we own it, we own it. That was not the best way to do that. I just want the health of, especially believers, the health of the body, and because of what Jesus has done for us and the forgiveness that he offers us, and then the grace, that sanctification process. I mean, that's what this is all about.
Yeah.
Is that sanctification process. Like every day we're learning, every day we're repenting, every day we're growing in his grace. That's the goal, right?
Yep.
That we really want that to be evident in our lives. And that, I hope, comes through our opinions and what we share and how we share it. Because it is free speech, yes.
Mm-hmm.
And yet we can't let that be an idol to the detriment of someone that we love or care about, or even someone that we don't know, but they got our opinion anyway. And we want to draw people to Jesus, not away from. And we know that we hear that a lot in the church.
Yeah.
I can't go in there to a bunch of hypocrites. Yeah, well, we got room for more. Come on in.
Come on in. Yep. Well, we'd love to hear your opinion. If you ever have some feedback on the podcast, love to hear from you. You can comment on whatever platform you happen to be watching or connecting with us on, whether it's YouTube or on the Facebook page. So let us know you're out there. Let us know you're listening. Thank you for being a part today, being our +1. Hope you'll like and subscribe on whatever platform you've connected with us as well. And I hope that you'll join us next time.